our story begins on a not-so-pleasant day. A ship at sea. Its crew finds a floating chest in the water. They pull it up, and it turns out to be very heavy, filled with treasures. But their joy doesn't last long, because a pirate ship suddenly appears before them and immediately begins attacking. Fear and terror spread among everyone present on the ship, and they realized that the pirates had surrounded them, except for one girl, who was the only one laughing. After that, we learned that this pirate ship belongs to the pirate whom her crew nicknames the most beautiful in the world. The most beautiful pirate in the world, Alvida. Her crew's attacks on the ship continue, and we see the chest rolling downward. Her men begin looting everything on board, except for one small boy named Koby, who says, "Please, I have nothing to do with this." She tells him to stop bothering her and kicks him, sending him flying onto the ship. Alvida jumps directly onto the vessel, and just like that, they take it over. The orange-haired girl jumps onto the pirate ship after it's been emptied, and we see Koby go down to the kitchen and pull out a barrel, but Alvida's men come to bully him and say to him, "You're scared. Hand over that barrel. We'll take it." They begin to open the barrel, but suddenly a person jumps out of it, smiling and happy, saying, "That was the best sleep I have ever slept." They are surprised and try to attack him, but the weapon gets destroyed. Koby is frozen in fear, and the two others can't believe what they're seeing. They ask who he is, and he says, "I am Monkey D. Luffy." They immediately run away. Koby tells Luffy to escape quickly, warning that Alvida will send more men to kill him. But Luffy says, "I'm hungry right now." The two of them go to the food storage. As Koby talks with Luffy, we learn that Luffy had been on a boat that sank, and he nearly died. Koby explains that he accidentally boarded a pirate ship 2 years ago while trying to go fishing, and has been working for Alvida against his will ever since. Koby says he wants to escape from Alvida, but is too scared. He has a dream, but fear controls him. He asks Luffy what his goal is. Luffy laughs and says, "I'm going to be king of the pirates." Koby is shocked and asks where his crew is. Luffy says he'll find them eventually. Koby explains that the title of Pirate King belongs to whoever obtains everything in the world, rules the Grand Line, and finds the One Piece treasure. Luffy says he knows. Luffy hits him and says, "It's not about whether I can do it or not. I will do it, because that is my desire. I've already decided to be king of the pirates, and I have no problem fighting and dying for that." Koby's expression suddenly changes. Luffy's words seem to have affected him deeply. He asks himself whether he too could really die for his dream. Luffy asks him what his dream is. Koby says, "My dream is to join the Navy and catch criminals. It's been my dream since I was small. I've decided to escape from Alvida and join the Navy to achieve my dream." At that moment, Alvida drops down on them and says to Koby, "Escape to where?" Luffy asks who this fat old woman is, which infuriates Alvida, and she attacks Luffy. Luffy takes Koby and jumps upward. Alvida's men attack, but he beats them all effortlessly. They try to attack again, and now we see Luffy's rubber ability. He laughs, spins, and hits them with Gum Gum, sending them flying. Koby is stunned and asks what Luffy is. Luffy says, "I'm a rubber man." Alvida arrives and says, "You ate a devil fruit." Luffy confirms, he ate the rubber fruit. Meanwhile, we see the orange-haired girl stealing the treasures from Alvida's ship. She appears to be a thief. Koby urges Luffy to flee, saying Alvida is the strongest pirate on the seas. But recalling Luffy's determination inspires Koby, who suddenly shouts, "You're an ugly old hag, and you have no class. I'm leaving and joining the Navy, and I'm not afraid of you anymore. Alvida attacks in fury, but Luffy shields Koby and launches her far into the sky with a single blow. What incredible power! He grabs Koby, and they get into a small boat. The orange-haired girl has also taken a boat. They sail off. Koby tells Luffy that since he wants to be Pirate King, he'll definitely have to enter the Grand Line, known as the Pirate's Graveyard. No pirate who enters the Grand Line ever comes back. Luffy says that's exactly why he needs powerful friends. He mentions someone called Pirate Hunter Rorinoa Zoro. Koby confirms that Zoro is currently imprisoned at a nearby marine base. Luffy says, "Great, let's go see him." They arrive at the town with the marine base. We see Pirate Hunter Rorinoa Zoro bound up. He hears Luffy and Koby talking and tells them to get lost. His head is hurting. A small girl then appears with rice balls, bringing them for Zoro and saying he must be hungry. But Helmeppo, the son of Captain Morgan who runs the base, comes and snatches the food from the girl, throws it on the ground, and shoves her. Luffy catches her. We see that the bound Zoro hasn't eaten in 20 days. He tells Helmeppo he only has 10 days left, and then he'll be free. Helmeppo laughs and says, "We'll see." Luffy then stands before Zoro and asks what brought him to this situation. Zoro says it's none of his business. Luffy starts to leave, but Zoro calls him back and says, "Wait, bring me that food that was thrown on the ground." He eats it off the ground and tells Luffy to tell the little girl that her food was delicious. Luffy and Koby go sit with her. The little girl tells them what happened. Helmeppo had a dog he used to terrorize all the townspeople. One day, he entered the restaurant where she and her mother worked, and the dog attacked them. But Zoro beat it. Helmeppo was furious and said, "Don't you know who I am?" But Zoro hit him too. Helmeppo then said, "You know my father will have you executed for this. But if you want them to survive, you take the punishment yourself. 1 month in captivity without food. Then they'll pardon you." That's why Zoro turned himself in. Back in the present, we see Helmeppo is at the restaurant again, saying he has decided to execute Zoro tomorrow. Luffy hears this and immediately goes to punch Helmeppo, saying, "I'll make Zoro one of my crew members." With Zoro, we see him suffering from hunger and thirst, his body in terrible shape. But he wants to finish the 30 days to help the girl and her mother. Then he finds Luffy standing before him. Luffy says, "I want you to join my crew." Zoro says, "Who said I want to be a pirate?" Luffy says, "You will be with me. I heard you use swords. I'll go get your swords from the base and come back." At the base, Captain Morgan slaps his son Helmeppo, calling him a fool. Meanwhile, Luffy stretches his arm, flies upward, and lands in front of Morgan and his son. He tells Helmeppo, "Good, I found you. Come with me." Morgan orders his men to capture Luffy. Koby goes to free Zoro, who tells him to leave it. But Koby explains what Luffy did, that he punched Helmeppo when he heard he was going to execute Zoro. Luffy finds 3 swords, but doesn't know which belong to Zoro, so he takes all of them. Morgan tells them they'll all die here and orders the Marines to open fire. But Luffy, with his rubber body, appears and blocks the shots. Zoro asks who he is. Luffy says, "I am Monkey D. Luffy, the man who will become king of the pirates." He tosses Zoro his swords, and Zoro identifies the 3 that belong to him, his 3-sword style. Zoro laughs and says, "I don't mind being a pirate. It's definitely better than dying here." Morgan and his men are shocked. Morgan says, "This must be devil fruit power. We face a true legend." He orders his men to attack. Luffy and the now freed Zoro fight back. Zoro says, "I've become a criminal since we've defeated Marines. But before I sail with you, I have a personal ambition I must fulfill. I will become the world's greatest swordsman." Luffy says the world's greatest swordsman is exactly the level a crewmate of the Pirate King should be at. Luffy and Zoro fight through the Marines. Morgan advances to fight Luffy, who deflects his attack, then lands blows on Morgan. But Helmeppo grabs Koby and threatens to kill him. Luffy turns, and Helmeppo says he can't do anything. But then Morgan attacks Luffy from behind, and Zoro cuts him down with one sword strike. Morgan falls. Strangely, all of Morgan's men and the Marines celebrate his defeat because he had been a tyrant over them and the townspeople alike. They then all eat at the little girl's restaurant, celebrating. Afterward, Luffy and Zoro sail off, bidding farewell to Koby, who will remain in the town to join the Navy. Zoro asks Luffy why he's so set on becoming Pirate King. Luffy says, "Because I swore to someone that I would become the greatest pirate in the world and find the One Piece. And this straw hat, it knows that." Now we go back in time to learn about the man Luffy made that oath to, a pirate named Shanks. Shanks and his crew were in Luffy's village. Luffy was their friend. One day, some bandits barged in, mocked Shanks, and poured drinks on him. Yet Shanks did nothing. He and his crew just laughed. Luffy was furious and asked Shanks why he didn't say anything. Shanks said, "I understand how you feel, but all the man did was spill some drinks." Luffy stormed off and stumbled upon a fruit, which he ate. Shanks noticed and said, "Please don't have eaten what was in that chest. That's a devil fruit." Luffy had now become a rubber man and lost the ability to swim. Luffy later went to confront the bandits to avenge Shanks and his crew. But the bandits didn't treat him like a child. They were about to hurt him, until Shanks arrived at the last second. He said, "If you spill a drink on me or do anything, I can let it go. But I will never forgive you for hurting my friends." He defeated them all in an instant. The bandit leader grabbed Luffy and threw him into the sea. Luffy, unable to swim because of the devil fruit, started to drown, and things got worse when a sea monster appeared and destroyed the boat, appearing to eat the bandit, then turned on Luffy. But Shanks intervened at the last second, giving the monster a terrifying stare that made it flee. He told Luffy, "Thank you for fighting for us." Luffy was sobbing uncontrollably. We then see that Shanks lost his arm saving Luffy. He says, "Don't cry. One arm is worth nothing." When it was time for Shanks and his crew to leave, Luffy said, "I'll become a pirate and gather powerful friends and sail to find the One Piece." Shanks laughed, took off his straw hat, placed it on Luffy's head, and said, "I'm entrusting this hat to you. Return it to me someday when you've become a great pirate." That is why the straw hat means something incredibly important to Luffy. And now, my friends, Luffy has officially begun his journey as a pirate, and it will not be easy at all. The journey to the Grand Line to reach the One Piece treasure has begun. Luffy still needs to gather more friends for his crew during his journey through the East Blue. What will happen next, and can Luffy overcome the challenges ahead? That's what we'll find out, God willing, in the next parts.